Hey everybody, welcome to a special Next Gen edition of Hair of the Dogcast. Thank you for joining. The next generation of video games is upon us. The new consoles by Sony and Microsoft are being manufactured as we speak and are about to be unleashed upon the world in a matter of weeks. Despite massive pre-order woes and some bombshell news the last couple weeks, perhaps even days, the dust is beginning to kind of settle. Cards are on the table, and we have a clear picture of what the launch of the next-gen consoles may look like, and what the future may hold for not only PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series brand of consoles, but also how Nintendo might fit into the picture. To paraphrase Sherlock Holmes, the game is definitely kinda, sorta afoot. I'm one of your hosts. My name's something like that. I don't know. I'm not much of a reader.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm one of your hosts. My name's Tom, and I'm joined by fellow dogcaster
Dylan.
Dylan, you may know him as Big Tex and/or Dr. D.
Dr. D, that's not bad.
Or the Hoff. You brought that up the other night.
Did I really? Dr. D is funny.
I like that.
Yeah.
And not only is it just us two yahoos, but we also have an incredibly special guest today. Esteemed author, founder of Hagen's Alley Books, also co-founder and CEO of Premium Edition Games, and also an all-around swell fella, Mr. Jeff Wittenhagen. Hey, Jeff.
Hey. I'm joined by Dr. D apparently, which is good.
Dr.
D, yeah.
I didn't know I'm registered in love.
The Doctor of Love. That's right.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I didn't know I had such pedigree. That sounds crazy. Yeah. I've done a few things, I guess.
You have, and one of them has also. You've been on the Dogcast before in a capacity. We met at Midwest Gaming Classic a couple years ago, and it was love at first sight. And we've been wanting to get you back on the podcast since then. But since then, a lot has happened to you.
It happened to me. All right.
It has. Yeah, your life has changed in so many ways. But before we talk next gen, which Jeff, I hope you're ready to talk some next gen.
Of course.
Give us a little background. How do people know Jeff Wittenhagen?
So when we talked the last time, we were just talking about my books. So I've been publishing my own books for the last 6 years. I started Hagen's Alley just because I've been writing for about 20 to 30 years, and the publishing deal, I didn't really dig it. Wasn't enough juice in the squeeze because they were like, oh yeah, we'll give you 5%, all this stuff. And I'm like, no, I want to do it myself. I don't care if it's a smaller amount. And it's not the worth. It was that they would change and do whatever they wanted with my book. And I'm like, no, I want a Nintendo collector's guide that has every game with box art screenshots and collector's checkboxes. Like, oh yeah, they were going to change up a bunch of stuff. They would do whatever they would like. You had to submit it in weird formats, so you couldn't really visualize what you were doing. So then they would just give you something after years. It was really weird. I just do it myself. And so since then, now I have multiple authors signed to Hagen's Alley books. One of the guests that you mentioned that couldn't be with us today, Mr. John Riggs, is actually signed to Hagen's Alley.
Yeah.
Doing a book.
Where are you, John? You're missing a hell of a good time.
John? His book may not be about cereal, because I don't just do books on video games.
He is the Sultan of Cereal and the Emperor of Ice Cream. Yes.
Whoa.
The Sultan of Cereal. You're rhyming all the time.
Yes.
I mean, I've done that, so I've had over 20 print books published for myself, and then I've published getting close to about half a dozen other authors' books as well across community. Latest one was a Friday the 13th hardcover strategy guide, the easy way, so everybody can beat Friday the 13th on the NES.
Nice.
I don't know if I have the patience for it, but okay.
Yeah.
It only takes about 20 minutes. We were doing it at conventions, live at the panel, following his instructions.
Oh, wow.
Like, we had an 8-year-old do it.
Let's talk about Premium Edition. How did that come about?
So question to you guys. You guys grew up with video games?
Of course.
Nintendos, Sega Genesis, maybe. My dream as a kid was always to make my own video game, publish my own game.
Of course, yeah.
I don't really have a programming talent. I mean, I know a little bit about programming. I really don't. So I'm like, well, let me get games out there. So I've released, with Hagen's Alley, actually, I've released Nintendo games. This is one of the newest ones.
Oh, nice.
Tower of Turmoil.
Okay.
Tower of Turmoil on the NES is one of the NES Maker games, the NES Maker games with Joe Granato. So, publishing that was cool, but I'm like, well, how do you publish for Nintendo? And the kind of person I am is like, if somebody can do it, I'll figure out how. And so a couple years ago, I applied just to be a publisher for Nintendo, and they gave me the runaround and all that. So essentially, it's really hard to be a publisher with Nintendo, by the way. That's where it's like, people are like, wait, how are you doing this? Are you even approved?
Yeah.
That's what some of the trolls
it must be hard to do anything with Nintendo. At least that's the vibe that I get.
I've seen some developer like diaries for games that they were like Nintendo courted them, and even though Nintendo courted them and wanted a specific deal with them, it was literally just still a nightmare.
Yeah, and so that was the weird thing. And so I applied with them like years ago, like when the Switch like launched, essentially, maybe in the second year. They came back to me earlier in this year, and they're like, "Yeah, you're approved." We start signing some games, and then we did our premium edition direct and launched. And I'm with Jonathan Poland, JP Switch Mania. He's my marketing dude. We are multiple distribution companies out there.
That's great, man.
So like, yeah, then right now we closed our pre-order actually last night at midnight. We just closed our pre-order for Super Blood Hockey, our first game. We're actually publishing our second release too, because we sold enough copies to facilitate 2 print runs. We're going to make sure that everybody that supports us gets their items the right way, the best quality possible. Yep.
So where can people get a hold of premium edition games?
So it's premiumeditiongames.com is our website.
Smart. Smart.
Very straight.
And then for Hagen's Alley books, it's hagensalley.com. I think I only have about 3, maybe 4 books left in stock out of the 20 that are, everything else is sold out. I am planning on taking a book to Kickstarter, which will be, I showed the Switch Collector Volume 1. This covers the first year of the Switch. It's 312 pages.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Volume 2 is done and formatted. However, it's over 400 pages and covers the first half of year 2.
Okay.
Because the Switch has been exploding and exploding in how many games are available.
Everyone wanted to put their indie titles on that.
But the thing is that I'm doing like multiple page spreads on every game. Like I'm not, like when I did my complete NES and complete SNES, it was about 3 games per page, so I could fit everything. I'm not even going to do that. We're going to give every game its due. If it needs, like even Troll and I has a page on the Switch, which is one of the really frowned upon games, even though it's not as bad as people say.
All right. It's a sequel to Troll 2.
Yeah. Sequel to Troll 2. Oh my God. No.
Oh no, Bug.
And then I'm working on a definitive edition of the Nintendo book, working on a Sega Genesis book. So even though Premium Edition Games is going, like, Hagen's Alley is still going to chug along.
Lots of irons in the fire, baby.
Now, are you going to be on the eShop as well? Do you have it going through there?
So the Super Blood Hockey has been on the eShop for last year. It launched in 2019. So we're bringing it physically.
Yep.
It is amazing. So it's like NES ice hockey with gore. And there's an RPG element franchise mode where you level up all your characters.
That's great. All right. Are you guys ready to talk about Next Generation?
I am deeply ready.
Great. We will do that. But before we do, Hair of the Dogcast is brought to you by executive producers Allison Smith, Tyler Keller, Mark Nenow, Brian Ward, Kate Conti, and viewers and listeners such as you. If you feel like supporting the Dogcast, and we hope you maybe consider it, check out the various tiers on patreon.com/hairofthedogcast. And we have tiers for all occasions, all budgets, and we will love you.
If you pay us enough, we'll take you out on the town, baby.
Yep, we will.
Definitely
I don't even think you got to pay them for that. You just got to talk sweet nothings to them.
Honestly, I am easily wooed, so I don't think it'd be a problem.
Yeah, buy me a beer. I'm good. But
are you Dylan? I'll be like, I guess.
I have to ask, is Brian Ward related to Brad Ward?
We never did the 23andMe, so we're not sure. But
it's his more handsome brother.
Is it his handsome brother?
It's his more handsome brother.
He is pretty handsome. All right. All right, as we go on this journey, let's go ahead and start with the consoles themselves. I'm assuming anyone that's listening right now probably has a pretty good idea of the tech specs of the consoles coming out, talking about the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X and S.
I think I don't think that's necessarily true, the tech specs. Some people do not care.
All of the ray tracing.
All of the ray tracings at this stage. I mean, people think the console wars already won just by the stats on the pages,
which has never been true.
No. Nintendo's going to fail because they're not supporting 4K. The Switch will never be successful.
Yeah, you know what? I'm thinking about just throwing mine away, you know?
Yeah, so the PlayStation 5...
I know.
The PlayStation 5 will be launching on November 12th. Wow, just like 6 weeks away. I mean, not very far into the future. They're coming with 2 models. For $499, you get the big boy PlayStation 5, the one with the disk drive.
The way
That's the fan model, or is that the router model?
Right. Yes.
I like Dyson designs.
Right. The
Dyson design.
The air freshener.
Looks like an old surfboard modem. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Right. And it'll be $399. Sony announced for the digital-only version. The only difference between the two systems is the fact that the digital version, does not have a disk drive.
Does a disk drive really cost that much? $100 more to integrate? I really don't. See.
Oh, marketing scheme completely. They literally want to try to get you to go digital. And because it does not cost $100.
Right. I know retailers have been pulled the ratio between how many disc PS5s have been allocated versus the digital PS5s, and it seems to be around. The digital represents about 25% of the manufacturing count of all the PS5s. So it seems like they're definitely pushing the disc version, which, look, I think all these companies are taking hits. They're eating some cost on the manufacture of all these consoles. Right. I think the $399 version is out there just to be just to have the mental perception, to get that in people's heads that it's only like a $399.
It's the illusion of choice.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. It's interesting, too, because you would think that they would be trying to market it harder if they wanted to, but they're not going to get the reciprocation from the physical store outlets, because the physical store outlets make money on the games, too, and you're literally only marketing your own eShop or your online store.
Well, here's what I'm picturing mostly. It's Nana is buying you a PlayStation. You're a kid. You obviously can't afford it yourself. She goes out and she says, "Oh, well, they do have PlayStation 5s in stock. He said there wasn't any." And then Nana buys you the discless one.
Fucking Nana. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can see that happening, but I can also see parents legitimately being like, "You're a kid. It's fine. Literally, it's the same thing. Like, here's one, but it's $100 cheaper."
That's true.
So interestingly, though, is like, I may be jumping ahead, but I do feel like the Xbox is a different territory than the PS5 when it comes to the different versions.
Yeah.
Just because of one simple fact, and that's called, their Xbox Game Pass.
Right.
Like, I think that's a much different beast than what you get your free couple games every month from PS5.
I will go to bat for Game Pass till the day I die. I think it's the best deal in video games. It's good. Period.
We will.
I feel like you would be more inclined to get the digital only version because you have Game Pass. There's so many games on it. Like versus with PS5, like, why would you get the digital one where you're still paying a premium for all the games? You might as well get it disc only. Right. If I don't like it, I can trade it. The disc games, like, I said disc only, I think, but the disc based games, because you have something in your hand, you own it. Like, there's a bunch of different aspects to physical. But with Game Pass, that changes the game, pun intended.
I agree. And speaking of Microsoft, we can go ahead and get to that. The Xbox Series consoles will be launching 2 days before the PlayStation 5 on November 10th.
Yeah.
All right. You guys get your pre-orders in for any of these yet?
No, I did not.
No.
Okay,
it's not worth my fucking time. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say you have many more years on your life than those of us that tried to get a pre-order the last couple of weeks. It's been
I don't need my
insane.
hair to gray. I'm balding, so I don't need that paired with it.
Yeah,
I have an 8-year-old daughter that helps with my graying. So.
Right. So the Xbox Series is coming out in two different models. The Xbox Series X is the flagship, the big boy of the group, for $499. This one has the disc drive. It's meant to output play games in 4K. It's got the most teraflops. It's being branded the most powerful video game system ever by
unless you have a PC.
Microsoft, unless you have a PC, which, if you have a 3080, I think it's just as powerful as these two systems put together. On the other foot is the $299 Xbox Series S, which it shares some of the internals of the X, but it is scaled down to a lower spec, which this one is meant to output at around like 1440p rather than 4K.
So before I heard it on Hair of the Dogcast plug, I didn't know that it was actually a lower spec until I heard it on your cast, because I thought they were the same.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
They were talking about it. It's nominally more powerful than the Xbox One X currently.
Yeah. So between the X and the S, and I mean, they're already so confusing. The naming
I literally had to think about it. You saw the gears turning. Yeah.
There was something that I saw posted on social media, and this will be for those that don't go to social media. This will be important.
Thank you.
Somebody said that there was a 700% uptick in Xbox One X sales during the pre-order session. Yep. So I guarantee you, there's at least a margin of those individuals that are probably going to be angry that they didn't get the Series X.
I saw a social media post that kept being retweeted yesterday of like some dude just like trying to own people, like, look at me, I got my pre-order in, posting the picture of the Xbox One S, and he was just like saying like, oh, you motherfuckers couldn't fucking be quick enough, and like everyone's just like, dude.
Nobody wants that.
Yeah. So, and the other speculation is all these people that had bots going to try to snipe these consoles did not set a lot of their parameters.
Got them.
Yes.
It's really interesting. Now is PlayStation 5 doing this whole Kmart layaway payment plan that Xbox is doing? Because to me, with like Game Pass on top of the actual console, if you're going to get Game Pass, you might as well do layaway for real. Like it's like a cell phone at that point, which I honestly I hate that, but it makes sense.
Are you talking about the All Access program?
Yeah.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I was trying to pre-order yesterday, tried to do the All Access thing where you pay for $35 a month for 2 years.
Yeah, that's insane.
Oh yeah, that's the way. Well, you actually end up saving some money because I mean even cars lose their value over time.
Yeah, and it was just an exercise of frustration because all the servers are crashing. Same thing with PS5. It was just a shit show for both consoles.
Well, being a retro game collector that I am, like retro consoles actually hold their value better than cars do. So I mean, if you hold on to the Xbox, Series X long enough.
Well, but then there's that value dip and then rise. That usually doesn't happen for cars.
It's a big dip.
It's a huge dip, and then it goes right back up after about 10 years. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, the Series S also has a scaled down hard drive, which is odd for being an all digital system as well. It's only
don't forget about the ugly design with the big black dot on it over the white on the.
Oh, you mean the big speaker design?
The Bluetooth speaker.
Yeah. Literally, I have a speaker that looks exactly like that.
Beats by Dre,
yeah, or somebody like put it next to like a DJ Hero turntable or something, and like, oh yeah, totally got the vibe.
I think the Series X looks cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do too. I like the big box, and
it might as well an Xbox might as well be a box.
Hey, it's in the name.
It's in the fucking
in the name.
It's in the name.
Oh, you said the EA portion.
I know. Yeah,
I almost did.
Exactly. Microsoft still does that bullshit with you have to buy the separate charge and play controller packs for the controllers.
That is a bit of a fucking
I do like
shame.
Sony always kind of, even if the batteries only last 3 hours, having the rechargeability there, that's
kind of... The DualShock 4 always lasts me like at least, I would say 5 to 6 hours until I gotta plug it in.
Oh, really?
Ours are like 3 or 4 max.
Yeah, mine's, really?
Exactly. I don't know, maybe I sold my PlayStation years ago.
That's why it lasts so long. You don't have one. All right.
That's the sad part is that I'm probably going to end up with the PS5 because my wife is obsessed with Grand Theft Auto Online on PlayStation with my nephews. So like I feel like we're gonna end up with the surfboard modem instead of the ugly speaker or giant boxes. But
right.
I mean, but when you have the payment plan and Game Pass, like I use Game Pass myself, and I have craziness when it comes to video games.
Absolutely,
I still go on Game Pass.
Are you a multiple console household, or do you pretty much just stick to one, Sony, Microsoft, and then have a Switch, whatever?
I have every console from Pong all the way up. Now, what I didn't do was I did not upgrade with the last generation of Xbox and PlayStation 4. I still have my original PS4 and my original Xbox One. I never upgraded to the new ones because... if there's not exclusive games, I'm not looking to upgrade. It's a nominal thing for me. And I mean, my focus is typically Nintendo because that's where my childhood nostalgia is. That's it, though. But I mean, if Sega was on another console exclusively, I probably would also play those consoles more.
Gotcha.
The only thing that gets me to go over would be like Final Fantasy VII Remake or something else, like nostalgia.
And that will definitely be on the PlayStation 5 exclusively.
Oh, yeah. And especially with the announcement of Final Fantasy 16
being a
console.
PC and Sony exclusive. That is crazy.
That was a shocker.
That's
when
a
I fucking
drop.
saw that. Okay, so let's just going to run down some of like the high level specs of the PlayStation 5, and we'll stick with the X and then we'll give a little bit of the S to show how that compares to these systems. But for the most part, both of these boxes, the PS5 and the Series X, are relatively similar. The architecture is developed by the same company, AMD. So they're both based on the same architecture. With the PlayStation 5, it has a 3.5 gigahertz AMD Zen 2. The difference with the Xbox Series X is it has a 3.8 gigahertz AMD Zen 2, and the Series S has a 3.6 gigahertz. There you go.
Which is still a little bit better than the PlayStation.
Yeah, right. For the GPU, the graphics processing units, PlayStation's at 10.3 teraflops. You guys like the T-flops?
I love the word
Teraflops.
It's great to just swing in people's faces.
Yeah.
Look at there's so many teraflops in your hands, man. It's like free.
Teraflop. Let me flop on it.
Just hold it up a switch. Series X has a 12 teraflop GPU, and apparently the Series S has 4 T-flops.
Okay, well.
So, and the RAM is pretty much comparable. I believe they're all 16 gigabytes. I think the big differentiator between both of the systems, the X and the PlayStation 5, is the storage and the hard drive technology, because
This is going to be a problem.
this seems to be one thing that kind of delineates both. Sony has a ultra fast 825 gigabyte custom SSD. It's supposed to be crazy. They did a couple tech demos, and it really stood out. I think they did a Ratchet and Clank demo where the game transitioned to different game worlds, Ratchet or whatever, the main character is going through portals, and just snap, boom, 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 and no load times. So, I mean, that's really impressive. The Microsoft, they also have an SSD, but it's based on kind of the NVM, the PC standard.
Well, this is
still fast, but...
Well, this is one of the ways that these companies are going to end up differentiating themselves.
Yeah.
I think focusing on like load times is really important, and this makes this kind of puts PS5 in the lead for me, because there are games I play where I'll sit there during a load screen and I'll literally just be like, should I pick my nose? Should I like smell my armpits? Like, what am I supposed to do during this time?
Find a hobby.
Well, I mean, the
Did you
hobby is
ever
the video games.
Question: did you guys grow up with a Commodore 64? I'm showing my
I did
age.
not know.
Never had one, but
So-
a friend down the road did, yeah.
Commodore 64 is a graphical console between the Atari 2600 and the NES. When you load up a game, it takes about 30 to 45 minutes to load. So what you do is you go do some other stuff. So like we used to play crossbows and catapults, or we'd play other games and toys while we waited. So while you waiting for those,
Yes. They should bring back tape drives, damn it.
Yeah,
Loading games off a
absolutely,
cassette
sure.
tape.
Yep,
Oh,
I
man.
agree.
I never even did that. Mine were just floppies, but like, I mean,
Yeah.
nowadays when we have all the different like things, I have an SD card that has every Commodore game, like 10,000 games, by the way, and it emulates a disk drive and has no loading. So like, it's nowadays there's no loading, but like, so while you're waiting for your Xbox stuff, you just do other things. You check your social media that you don't do.
Yeah, see,
That's the issue.
everybody else is fine. It's just you, man.
I mean, I have to sit there with my thoughts. That's dangerous.
What you do is you bust out the Nintendo Switch and you play some games while you wait
Well, what
for
if
your
I'm
games
already
to
playing
load.
this Switch?
All right, so November 10th for the Xboxes and November 12th for the PS5. Right now, pre-orders are all pretty much sold out. I'm pretty sure there will be other waves.
Nope, we missed it. No more.
All right, well, you heard it here first. Another scoop.
Darn it.
Another scoop.
Jeff, you know
There's
everything.
no more. There's no more.
I'll play all the new console exclusives that are coming out this fall.
So
Any-
something interesting though. So we're thinking about, the storage is going to be an issue, but potentially it may not be as much of an issue when it comes to these. If we're
Do you
talking
think they're going to compress
like
the
Game
files?
Pass, they're either going to compress the files. number one, internet connectivity may increase with 5G and beyond what we can't predict right now. What we don't know is in the works. And then if they get actually smart when they do downloads and we can play while it's downloading, it can download faster, and we may be able to start playing portions of the game quickly like they did with certain consoles, like where you could start playing a little bit. And as it downloads so you could play, and then maybe it'll start deleting off the back end as you beat games too, so it keeps up the space. Like there's things where if they were smart about it, they could work it in there. And then we wouldn't have to spend ungodly amounts of money on terabytes of hard drive.
And I think you're right. So for like the Xbox
I hope
Series,
I'm right.
The Xbox series of consoles, they've said that they have this thing called smart delivery. So if you were playing on an S, you won't download the really high texture resolution files, so that'll keep file sizes down for you. But you can also purchase like a 512 or 1 terabyte upgrade card I looked at today, the 1 terabyte, to get an extra terabyte for an Xbox is like $200. So,
Did you say a card? Did you say a card?
Yeah. It's
so
like
you can't
almost
just
like
buy a hard drive.
You can still do that, but in order to play like certain games, they have to be loaded onto the main hard drive. I think Sony said as much as well for theirs. So you have to swap it to.
So I would assume the only reason why they would do that, besides for just wanting to make money off of one proprietary format, is for speed load times off the hard drive. If it's like a solid state or something, it probably has a better speed. Because if I buy a cheap old terabyte, it's going to be slow, right? And I'm going to complain, right? And I'll complain, it's not loading fast, when in reality, I'm using a really crappy.
Yes, and I mean, with the case of the PlayStation 5 in particular, I think a lot of these games are going to be designed around having that quick storage. So it's going to, for the game itself, it will require the fast to be on the fast.
So if you're an ultra collector like our pal Brad, good luck, bud.
It's right. But I'm glad we started talking about games, because I just want to do a quick launch lineup rundown for each of the systems, if that's all right with you.
I'll do thumbs up.
He's got the
thumbs
yay.
down.
All right, we're doing the Gladiator.
Emperor, yeah.
Yes. All right, Commodus. So we'll start with Sony. So, as of now, as of this recording, Spider-Man Miles Morales by Insomniac is a first-party launch game. The Demon's Souls remake, which is being done by Bluepoint, which is also a first-party studio, which looks really good.
It looks great.
Both these games look really good.
I can wait. I played Demon's Souls when it came out.
Yeah. Spider-Man will be coming out on PS4 as well, but it looks pretty good. Demon's Souls, I think, is a pure PlayStation 5 exclusive.
Yes, it is.
They just announced Godfall. It's a game by Gearbox. It kind of looked like the Norse mythology.
Right. It looks like Too Human.
Yes.
Too Human, yeah.
There you go. That's all I know about that game.
Polybius.
Hashtag Polybius. Just put that as a launch exclusive. Astro's Playroom, which is a game that comes loaded on the PS5. I think it's like a tech demo. Another game called Destruction All-Stars and Sackboy Big Adventure. Those are kind of like the exclusives for Sony.
Kind of a flavor for every season.
I'm excited to play Spider-Man. Demon's Souls looks great. Wasn't a fan of the first Demon's Souls, so
they apparently they made it much more cohesive. They changed a few things up, but I'll tell you, like, none of this is screaming like, Dylan, you must play this the day it comes out. Right. I can wait 5 months. I'll wait for my tax return, and then I won't feel guilty about spending the cash.
Well, brother, if you don't feel like spending the money for a PlayStation launch,
is Xbox even better?
Let's talk about Microsoft.
Oh, boy.
Cue up the sad Jurassic Park meme song. So they were supposed to have Halo Infinite, which got delayed. Oh, thumbs down.
No, it got delayed. Like, I would love to play it, but nope, not coming out for the launch window.
Yeah. I think the only actual true like first-party exclusive console-wise is Gears Tactics, which has already been available on the PC.
It's on Game Pass right now, I believe.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, it's on Xbox. I could play it if I felt like it.
I know it's on PC Game Pass for sure, but I think it might be coming to consoles on day one. So, there you go. Yeah.
That's it for exclusive?
Well,
it's got something I'm interested in. Yakuza, Like a Dragon. That actually looks pretty good.
You play the Yakuza games, Jeff?
Oh, yeah. All 18 billion of them at this point. Like, that series is why Shenmue 3 wasn't well received, because Yakuza is the logical progression of that series.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They do have an exclusivity deal for Tetris Effect Connected, which is a console version of Tetris Effect. That looks okay if you're into like blocks and so in addition to kind of a meh lineup of exclusives, there are a handful of third-party games available on day one. I did not throw down a lot of them, but you got your Ubisofts, the Assassin's Creed, Valhalla, Watch Dogs Legion. We'll have like a upscaled version for the new consoles ready to go. Dirt 5, I don't know if you guys are into
I have
Dirt
recently just played Dirt Rally 2.
Oh, shit.
It's actually a lot of fun.
Is it?
Yeah,
What's
it's
that
on Game Pass.
Oh, it is? Okay.
It's on the Xbox, yeah. It's actually, you know what? Like, that you can get really technical with it. It's a little Gran Turismo-y, and you're literally just driving in dirt. But it looks great, plays well, racing's fun. It's good.
Right on. Devil May Cry 5, the special edition, will be available on both. I don't know if you guys played the Devil May Cry series.
This one is the best Devil May Cry.
Is it?
Period.
I downloaded it, never played it.
It's fantastic. Give it a shot.
Okay.
It's no longer on Game Pass, unfortunately.
Right. Then I guess
got taken off. Luckily, I beat it 3 days before.
Oh, good for you.
I didn't even know it was leaving.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, so that is an inherent thing with digital that we would have to deal with too, is that games do leave.
But then here's the thing though. A lot of these games that come on Game Pass, there's a lot of time to play them. Usually they don't just go on for a month and they disappear. It's not like trials technically. And when they leave, well, for the most part, you're going to be able to get those games cheap anyway, especially if you're buying through a disc. I don't think it's that crazy of a thing. If you literally found something that you loved on Game Pass, why not own it? It's fine.
No, I agree. It's a good way to try out things. And then finally, I think this is an expansion. I don't know if you guys are Destiny heads. Dylan, you played Destiny, but Destiny 2 Beyond Light?
So this is the next bigger expansion after the most recent one was Forsaken. That was like a huge expansion onto it. And this is now in that vein. This took a long time for them to develop because Activision cut them loose. And so they kind of had to rebuild like their internal development to suit being like an independent company, essentially.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think Bungie was too sad about being cut loose from that agreement.
No, towards the end of me playing Forsaken, I literally got so annoyed. I hung up my controller. I was like, I'm done with this.
Yeah. Yeah. So like this year, unless you're really excited about, a couple of these games, you can play most of them other places, and there's not really
compatible.
Yeah, exactly. There's not too much of a reason to get it unless you're a fanboy or.
So you want to hear something crazy with my way of collecting, which is really insane, is that like I don't buy a lot of games. But I really
they
don't.
Fell off a truck, man.
Yeah, they fall off a truck. No, but I don't buy a lot of games day one. So like when it comes to like, because I'm a big retro head, and I mean that's why I gravitate toward the Switch, because it covers every damn generation. But when it comes to new stuff, like you're mentioning Spider-Man, I'm like, I haven't even played the first Spider-Man yet. You're mentioning Assassin's Creed. I haven't played a lot of. Of course I do. It's on my list. But I have a giant list.
Eventually, but I can play for $5.
Exactly. I haven't played Ghosts of Tsushima. Yeah. Everybody's raving on it. I'm going to play it. But I haven't. Yeah. Everything is in my backlog, and I'll pick it up for $5 to $10, like in the future. Because they're all like million sellers. Like I'll pick them up later. It's the same thing when it comes to other systems. It's like I'll pick them up when I do, and that's where like all these games are. Like I have other games in that series that I still need to play. Like I played Destiny 1. I haven't even played Destiny 2 yet.
It's not really worth adventuring into, but
I heard that one, and that's where I get to like I don't have to beta test the games. I get to jump into them. Like I mean, back in the day, I played Demon's Souls, and I got it super cheap. And that's going to be the same thing with this, is that like I'll probably end up with a PS5 because of my wife. But like she hasn't even played the story mode on GTA 5. She's a mob boss on online. She has like level 5,000 or some ridiculous.
I can
amount.
appreciate that.
Yeah. So like this is actually like her game. There's no single player. She's like, oh, perfect. I don't want that. I'm like, okay.
Wow.
That's
She's
really
a
odd.
keeper. Damn.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the success of Fortnite. Like, people just want to play with their friends. It's their way of connecting, but also, I mean, for losers like you and me, Tom, we just like to disappear.
Yeah. Well, you didn't even ask, but like you said, like, do I collect multiple consoles? I have, I think, 4 Nintendo Switches in my house now because of my wife.
Jeez Louise.
Really?
So like,
Because of your wife?
I bought the one at launch, right? And then I got a Switch Lite for my daughter to play. Okay. And then for Christmas, I pre-ordered a Pokemon one for her, and I was like, all right, I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to sell the teal Switch Lite. Then Animal Crossing happened. So I lost my Switch because my wife got obsessed.
Right. And you need your own island.
And then I don't even play it. I have a tent on her island. Then she took over my daughter's Switch and the other Switch Lite for multiple islands to run them all at the same. Like,
Jesus.
She's obsessed. So then for Father's Day, she bought me my own because I might be running a company that deals with the Switch, and I might need to play some new games.
Might need this.
And I run a podcast for the Switch. So like, I need to play some stuff. So it was interesting that like I have so many. Like I can't even sell my teal one.
Yeah.
Like,
so she sounds like she's creeping towards intervention territory here pretty soon.
She's gonna have a Scrooge McDuck room full of Nintendo Switches.
She's just gonna like dive off a diving board into a bunch of Nintendo Switches.
I mean, she's gotten to the point where I think she got rid of her island because it was on my account, and I couldn't. And whenever I played on my account, it would kick her off. So she literally transferred everything over to a new island and created. So she's on like the 4th island.
Screw you! I'm going to my own island.
That sounds like a day-long endeavor.
Well, this is what happens with COVID: is that people get obsessed with things. Because I mean, now she's actually working now, so intervention didn't happen. She's working a job and actually going to it now, so she doesn't have the time, but she's still playing a little bit, but like it's not to the it was insane for a while. She's like level 5,000 on GTA 5. She gets obsessed. She's definitely a keeper. I put a ring on it for a reason.
Right. Oh my gosh. But you have to tell her that single player is actually pretty good. Let's go to good. Now we talked about some of the exclusives and the launch titles. Let's look forward a little bit because Sony's known for having a great stable of first-party studios.
Yes,
I mean,
some of the best.
Some of the best. They have really cornered the market on the third-person single-player experienced kind of games. Mm-hmm. You know, we mentioned Ghost of Tsushima being their latest one from
Horizon.
And Horizon. Yeah, Horizon's great. I love Tsushima. You know, and they have Naughty Dog, which might be the crown jewel of development studios, you know, at least console-based. Do you disagree, Jeff? Or do you have...
Oh, no, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't disagree at all. Completely agree.
No, you can. It's okay.
Trust me, I will let you know.
Yeah, so Naughty Dog, the proprietors of, you know, the Last of Us games, Uncharted, Jack and Daxter.
Imagine an Uncharted on the new generation.
Oh, I am.
I hope they do a new IP. I'm just going to put that out there. That'd be cool to see a new IP.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think, Bruce Straley has said he's interested in doing a new IP. And
Hair of the Dogcast, the game.
That'd be a really boring third-person platformer.
Just one guy drinking alone, looking sad.
Walking.
Imagine trying to walk upstairs that drunk though. Like
It's a balance thing, like on Death Stranding.
Yes. So Naughty Dog has not really announced what they're working on next, but rest assured, the way Last of Us 2 ended, there's going to be a Last of Us 3. You know there's going to be an Uncharted. So you just have all that to look forward to. And I mean, when they came out with their games for PS4, those just looked freaking amazing. Yeah. Every one of them, you know, Uncharted 4 and Last of Us 2, you know, as much as I had qualms with that game, it was freaking gorgeous and really put you into the shitty world, you know. Santa Monica, God of War, their studio.
War Ragnarok.
You know, they just announced that the 2 is coming. It's like the biggest non-surprise, but
it was so
you
expected.
knew it was coming.
Well, this isn't that. It's like a pretty standard development time. I think they got used to what they had going on with their engine.
Exactly.
And now it's just a matter of like coming up with new and clever ideas and keeping it fresh.
Yep. Did you play the God of Wars at all, Jeff? The new one? The reboot?
So yeah, Dad of War was really fun.
Yes, Dad of War.
I got it super cheap too, so like I did pick it up. Again though, like I have the bad habit of playing a game for one sit down and then I go move on to something else because there's so many games out there and my time is super limited. I mean, you mentioned the pedigree, like all that takes a lot of time, and then I work a full-time job where I'm pulling like 12 to 14-hour days, and I want to spend time with my wife and daughter, and then it's the business side, and then it's like, well, I have about an hour to game this week, and what do I do? It's a good problem to have because I enjoy everything. I enjoy all of the things, but it does mean that sometime I'm gonna need to sit down and spend about 1 million hours playing just this last generation of games because they're all amazing.
Yeah, very few of their studios in general have come out with clunkers. I think the latest one that might have come close, and it still got good reviews, was a game called Days Gone, and I still want to play that.
I've read reviews on that, and I'm like, oh, it seems like a great game.
I know.
I don't know.
Great pandemic game. I don't know.
I don't know if I have it in me. I see zombies on the cover sometimes, and I just go, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, if you buy PlayStation 5 and become a PS Plus member, Sony also announced that they have a collection of their PS4 classics that you have access to as part of your subscription. So, you know, God of War.
Is it a passive game?
Yes, a passive previously released games that came out exclusively for PS4, and Days Gone is one of them. So it's kind of like the greatest hits collection that you have access to, which is pretty cool. Okay. And Jeff, you mentioned Guerrilla Games. They've already announced that a New Horizon will be coming.
That's on video.
It'll also be for PlayStation 4, though.
Yes. Which was also a revelation at the last Sony conference. Like,
all right. I mean, I get why.
Makes business sense to me, you know. They were touting that, you know, their strategy was kind of like, we believe in generations, up until they just kind of came out and said at this last conference, like, by the way, it's coming for PS4 too, it's fine. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, the rub on all of this for me is that I don't own a 4K television.
I
get
We're
why.
Cool,
but it's also just like, first of all, I have a job. It's barely a job right now. So maybe I gotta like put my other priorities first. Otherwise, I'd be into it.
You gotta eat.
Yeah, a man's gotta eat. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So I mean, I'll get one eventually. But even when I get these new systems, it's going to be on a 1080p television, like 60 hertz. Nothing's gonna. I mean, like the fidelity is gonna look really good. Like, like as far as like the pixels and like the lighting effects and stuff. But everything else is gonna be pretty standard.
So the crazy thing is that even with like the standard consoles that I have, like the upscaling, they look amazing on the 4K TV. They do. They look great. And so like that's where it's like when I actually start playing stuff in 4K, it's gonna melt my mind because like I remember when Netflix did a 4K version and when we got our 4K TV the first time, it was like you're just watching all this like the colors and everything pop. And that's like the only 4K thing we've ever had on our 4K TV, ironically. Because we never got the consoles yet, so I haven't had anything for 4K. So when we get these when we get one of the new consoles, like I said, probably PS5, it'll be like ridiculous.
It will, yeah.
I think it'll be astonishing.
It'll blow your mind.
Yeah.
Luckily,
I got my girlfriend to go halvesies with me.
Question though, so like PS1 had CDs on it, which was a big selling point. PS2 had the DVDs, you had the Blu-rays on PS3. Are they doing any of the marketing for PS5 with their disc version? Like, are we getting the HD DVDs? No. Are we getting that 4K?
I love HD DVD. I still miss it.
Okay.
But yes, it's coming loaded with the 4K Blu-ray.
Okay, that's good.
They haven't really been touting it that much.
I don't think it's something you really have to advertise at this point.
At this point, no.
It's just a given.
It's kind of, this is like, I didn't even have to think about it. I'm just like, oh yeah, well, they'll have the most up-to-date Blu-ray player.
Yeah.
Right. It was kind of like an omission when the PS4 Pro came out and it did not have a 4K Blu-ray.
That's why I was asking is like, are they actually going to do it or is one of the new consoles going to admit it?
Right. Yeah. So every console you buy, no matter what it is, will have a 4K Blu-ray player on it. So you will be ready to watch The Revenant in 4K.
Perfect.
Or Gladiator.
I think I have Deadpool 2. I think I got that version.
That's a great transfer, man. Great transfer. It's good. And then finally, they have Sony San Diego, or was it San Diego Studios, which makes MLB The Show. And I don't know if you get.
know.
I don't even like baseball. The show's a good game. And that's,
I heard, yeah.
And that's actually coming to third-party consoles, or I should say like Xbox this year.
Sure.
So Sony's going to have games published on Xbox and probably not the Switch, I'm thinking. But
Probably not the Switch.
Probably not. But as far as the future holds, yeah, I think the Sony definitely holds the edge for first-party studios, or at least they would have like a few days ago before a big bomb dropped that Microsoft announced. But we'll transition to that. A big bomb, Jeff. It's crazy. When we talk about Microsoft first-party studios, does anything come to mind for you guys that you particularly like? Oh yeah, I love that fucking game.
You know what? No.
Battletoads.
The developers. I do like the developers who make Forza. I like the Forza Horizon games quite a bit.
Playground?
Yeah, those are cool.
Those are really good. Yep.
Otherwise, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't care about Gears. I don't really care about 343 Industries with their Halo games. I don't know. Yeah,
right.
That's about it.
Yeah, they haven't really announced much for the future outside of, we know that Halo Infinite got delayed, so that will be coming, so if you're a big Halo fan, hopefully you're still looking forward to that, and they can, I don't know, bring that home without it.
I'm hearing some bad news in the development sector on this game, yeah.
Yeah, it's never good when you delay your flagship launch game 2 months before you're supposed to launch it, you delay it indefinitely, and then bring the guy that originally wrote the original Halos back into the studio to helm it. So,
are we going to have another Destiny with Halo Infinite?
I don't know.
I hope not.
Yeah.
Games with Infinite in the title haven't been doing well. I'm not sure how they focus tested that, but if you think of BioShock Infinite, it did well, but it wasn't like highly regarded. There's Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite widely panned, and now this.
Infinite Undiscovery. You probably don't even know what that game is. The Infinite Undiscovery.
Right. That RPG for the 360.
Yeah, that nobody really liked.
No.
But it was good. But it was fun.
It came out the same time as Lost Odyssey. Of course you were going to play Lost Odyssey.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
I did not, so both of you can just stick it. I'm sorry. I want to. I still want to. Maybe it'll come to Game Pass someday. I don't know. We know Psychonauts 2 is coming if you're a fan of Double Fine.
Yeah.
They're one of those charming little studios. I'm a big Tim Schafer fan, so that's cool. Gear 6 we know hasn't been announced, but obviously Fable's coming. That
Fable
looks okay by the people that make Forza Horizon.
Sure, I'll trust them.
Hellblade 2 by Ninja Theory. We know there's an RPG called Avowed coming from Obsidian. Microsoft owns Obsidian, and
we can guess that might be all right.
Maybe. It really looked
so.
like Skyrim with some Doctor Strange aspects to it. From the trailer that they showed. Yeah, and of course, there's this little game called Minecraft that they own, but that's everywhere. So
yeah, I mean, who cares?
Yeah. So,
an 8-year-old autistic kid.
Right. So when I was putting this list together, this is what I had. And I'm like, I'm going to play all my third-party games on the Xbox just because I do that right now with the Xbox One X.
It's the controller. It really does break down to the controller.
It really does. For me, it does too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How about you, Jeff? Are you a PlayStation controller or an Xbox controller guy?
Xbox all the way.
All right.
I love the Xbox controller, and the thing is, that's kind of why I like the Switch Pro controller, because it really mirrors what Xbox did.
Yes, it's almost essentially the same thing.
I think they just took it.
Yeah. And that's why I love that though, and it's like, whereas the PS4 one,
this having this twin sticks on the same plane, I don't know. It's just not.
The DualSense looks good.
Mm-hmm. It does look better.
It does. It looks a little more ergonomic for big hands.
I need to feel it. I need to get
your
kinetics
big meat hooks in
it.
there.
Yeah.
I need that's the only way I can really decide whether or not this is worth it. We're past the age where GameStop has little demo areas for, first of all, obvious reasons, but you just kind of have to go with your gut.
It's true. This list was kind of put together before Monday, and then this last Monday hit, and Jeff, I don't know if you were aware, but Microsoft did a thing.
It bought something?
It bought something, yes.
I did hear this.
For
something very
$7.5 billion.
Tiny.
Microsoft acquired ZeniMax Media, which means Microsoft bought Bethesda. You get your Elder Scrolls, your Fallouts, Commander Keen's.
Cool,
no, that's
yeah.
Sorry, that's id Software. But they also get id Software. They get Arcane Studios, Dishonored.
They got id.
The upcoming Deathloop, Machine Games, Wolfenstein.
These new Wolfensteins, not counting Youngblood, they're all fantastic.
Now are they going to try to pivot those exclusives? That's the question, because they've been diversifying.
The question.
Yeah, because what I've noticed with the last generation is Microsoft's been diversifying cross with the PC and Xbox, and there really wasn't many truly exclusives because you could play it anywhere.
Yeah, I think that some of their philosophy was, we don't care where you play it as long as you're playing it in our ecosystem. On our subscription service.
Cuphead's out on PS4 right now
and on Switch.
Exactly. But so I think they're going to play ball. There's no way that Sony thinks they can get away with having a next gen console that doesn't have Elder Scrolls 6 on it. That's just completely. They just know that that's completely unacceptable. So they're going to make some deals. They're going to make some deals.
That'll be interesting.
You think Sony's going to come to Microsoft and be like,
now,
please let us have
I can
Elder
see them
Scrolls?
taking something like Doom and saying, yeah, this is ours.
Okay.
But I think something as big as like an Elder Scrolls game, I think Sony's actually going to approach them. They're going to come to the table. They're going to kind of be like, look,
put Game Pass on PS5 and you got a deal.
Well, yeah, that would be my life would be good.
We only need the PS5 then.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I've been mulling this over in my head ever since the news came out, and at first I was like, there's no way Microsoft won't publish these games on other consoles, because that's just the way they've been kind of trending the last couple of years. But then I'm thinking, I'm like, and plus they spent $7.5 billion. Don't you think you want to recoup some of that?
But don't you think that recouping?
Sony has the biggest audience.
Yeah, that's it.
It's right now.
Right now, exactly.
Well, I mean, even
you got Kmart layaway with Microsoft, so like literally you could be like, hey, we got Elder Scrolls, we got Doom. You can get it for $35 a month with our console. Go ahead and do it.
Exactly.
I'll be honest, I'll probably buy a Series X before I get my hands on a PlayStation 5, because I can do $34 a fucking month.
Yeah.
No big deal.
And I can see them putting it on PlayStation and saying like, you can play this game for $70. This one game, $70 a pop, it's all yours. But like you said, here's Game Pass. All these games are going to be available day one for your $14.99 a month subscription.
It's just crazy to me that like I'm actually like, well, I probably would get an Xbox Series X, because like if my wife wasn't in the equation, like where she's going to get a PS5, like I would be like, I'll just get the Xbox Series X because I can play all the stuff, and it's $34 a month, whatever. Like,
and I don't think it excludes people from who are primarily PlayStation players from just saying like, okay, I'll go PS5 first, but then maybe down the line I'll get a Series S. That'll be my Game Pass machine, just.
I mean, they wouldn't even.
I think Series S is that.
You got to think about it too. They wouldn't even need to. So, say you got your PS5, you got your Grand Theft Auto, you got all the different exclusives you need, and then the newest Elder Scrolls come out. Well, half the price of a game, you get a Series X, and you can play it. Half the price, the $70 game, you got half the price of that. You get the console and you're paying it per month. But most people don't care about paying for a service nowadays. That's why we have a million streaming services now that I'm not going to continue to support. But that's a different story. But
I know, man.
But
Jesus.
Like you have a literally physical console with Game Pass.
Right.
Like there's no reason not to.
I think Xbox really, they learned a lot from these past 7 years. And I think they did a lot of like focus testing. They basically like, they asked a bunch of people in a room. They showed them happy, smiling faces and sad faces. The whole spiel.
Oh yeah, because they were in a position to do that. I mean, because they lost so bad.
I know they lost so
their ass
bad.
handed to them.
Well, I mean, if they could reinvigorate even the indie scene that they had with the 360, even a fraction of that, and rebuild that, because that was the main thing. I mean, you're talking. I publish games, and you're talking like the buy-in on the Xbox One is like you really can't afford to do it as a smaller company, whereas PS4 is super easy. Switch is tough to get into, and it's a little more costly, but it's not nearly as costly as the Xbox. Xbox like minimums are ridiculous. You're not catering to a giant subset of what's out there, and if Xbox can capture that with the Series X, I think your smiling faces that you're going toward, I think that might be a happy win on top of all this extra stuff that they're doing that we're talking about that a lot of people aren't even thinking of.
Yeah. I think for the most part, unless you're in the know and you're kind of keeping up with the trades, I think for the most part, people don't really understand what they're buying. For the most part, I think.
I agree.
I think it literally.
We're
breaks
enthusiasts.
Down. Yeah, we're enthusiasts. Yeah,
Hey,
that's a very nice way of putting it.
watch The Social Dilemma, and you'll
Fucking
see
nerd.
really how people are brainwashed into what they buy, and you're actually smart not going on social media. Social Dilemma,
Well,
it's a big one.
It also makes me.
True.
It also makes me the guy who says crazy stuff, and people are like, "What? What do you mean?" I read a different thing on here, and I'm like, "Well, I actually go to multiple sources,
Right, yes.
and then I find the truth."
You sir cannot has cheeseburger. So anyways, I think this definitely, it makes a more appealing offer, even for Microsoft, at least down the line a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, none of these games are coming out day one, probably year one or even year two. Starfield's the next big
year.
Bethesda game. that's
Next
coming
year,
out.
we're going to see
So,
some big stuff.
Starfield's going to be massive. That game's been in development for a long
18 years.
ass time.
18 years. And just a Wisconsin note, they actually, Roundhouse Studios, which used to be Human Head, or at least contain a lot of people that worked at Human Head out of Madison. That's a studio
Oh,
that
no
was
shit.
under Bethesda.
That's cool.
too. So yeah, and they also acquired, as part of the deal, Tango Gameworks, so that's like Shinji Mikami. So yeah,
Got a lot.
it's enticing. It's enticing, but like I said, it's not something that'll probably pay dividends until, down the road. So, but it's something to factor in if you are a quote unquote enthusiast. And
Well, there's a reason that I'm going to have to get a PlayStation 5 or at least go in on one, and that's the next thing we're talking about.
Go ahead.
Final Fantasy 16, and my girlfriend loves Harry Potter, as most women her age love Harry Potter. I'm not excluding guys, but let's be honest.
Jeff loves Harry Potter.
Hogwarts Legacy. That's another big one, too.
Hogwarts
Yeah.
Legacy.
Name brand alone.
Did you see
It's
that they had a trailer that at the last Sony kind of launch video?
Yeah.
That looked pretty good. I'm not a Harry Potter guy.
I mean, I'll
but-
watch her play it. I'm not going to touch it. But, it's the same reason I don't play Kingdom Hearts games. It's like, that's for you. I'll watch you play them.
Yeah, it's best not to do that.
Yeah. But 16, I was not expecting a Final Fantasy reveal at all.
Yeah, I wasn't
And
either.
it looks
And
amazing.
Did you see? Yeah,
It looks pretty sick, yeah.
I love it that it looks like it's going back to like more fantasy, darker tones, at least from the trailer.
No more road trip
Everybody-
bro time.
Yeah, there was a time and place where I thought Final Fantasy 15 looked stellar, and I was expecting like huge things from it. I don't know why I did. I know that they released a movie beforehand.
Kingsglaive.
A movie
with
with
Aaron Paul.
Yeah, a movie with a lot of really cool, I thought, the movie wasn't that good, but the things I thought it was setting up, I'm like, no shit, this is what that game is going to be?
Yep.
Yeah.
This seems crazy. And then you get the game, and it's thematically dead and just...
A lot of open
fun.
space. A lot of open space.
Yeah, and then you're basically fighting different rhinos.
Yeah.
Got a palette swapped.
Yeah.
And I think that game was saved truly from a pit by its replacement director. This is another one of those games, not unlike Skyward Sword, where most of the development, they scrapped it a year beforehand, and then they threw whatever they had that was good, and they mashed it together, and they tried to make those pieces fit.
Yep.
And so I think that 16, I bet you $1 million that started the moment that 15 came out and they got their reception. I imagine right away they were like, no, we can do this a little bit better. And that's exactly what this game looks like it's going to be.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of feel like even 7 Remake was like 15 done better, even though it was a little corridor-ish.
Totally.
Because that was my thing is I played 15, I enjoyed it, but I couldn't get engulfed into it to go back to it. And then, like even in my limited time, I played through and beat Final Fantasy VII Remake because it was just like, oh my god, like it pulled me in on PS4, played it, loved it, and I mean, again, it did feel a little more courtish, but you are playing only in Midgard, so it made sense. But
and it felt like Square is actually starting to figure out how to do the real-time combat in their games, whereas 15 was just fucking frantic,
it was all over the place,
all over the place, those battle encounters, and 7 was almost there.
Well, and 15 had the potential, there was just, like you said, the void of sameness. It's just, it felt like it wasn't fully developed, and you could tell like that it was swapped out, and then they just pushed it out without fully developing the world. And I felt like it was like so close. Like when I would go on a hunt for something, the first time, it was like, oh, this could be really cool. And then it's like, oh, you do it again. And then do it. And I'm like, I couldn't continue.
Yeah. The equivalent of a fetch quest.
Yeah.
Hopefully they don't do... I mean, that's what a lot of games boil down to be fair, if you're talking about mission objectives in general. But I think it, like The Witcher 3 did a great job of like motivating you through narrative to go on these fetch quests.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that I really like the look of it. I think the characters kind of look samey, which has got me a little bit worried.
Yeah, there's still like a little teenager guy.
Well, there's like two teenagers, but one's a little more well coiffed, and the other one it has just a tattoo on the side of his face.
Mike Tyson.
My girlfriend thinks both of them are hot, of course. Okay.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm looking forward to it, and the fact that it's being directed by the guy who resurrected Final Fantasy XIV has me.
That instills a lot of hope in me. Final Fantasy XIV, I played pretty religiously for about 6 months there. Okay. It's literally all I had to bring to the Dogcast a couple times.
Really? Yeah. I got crushed on the beta of 14, and then I never, even went when they did the Rome Reborn or anything, I never went back.
It's worth going back to.
If I want to get sucked in, which I kind of want to avoid, too.
Yeah, right. Don't actually.
Don't actually.
The MMO structure, it doesn't really do it for me anymore. After a certain point, you get tired of people who've gone through these dungeons 15,000 times yelling at you that you're not doing something correct.
Do it
I'm like,
better.
Excuse me, I just got here. It's like, fuck off. And some people are nice, but some people are just brutal. And I'm like, I'm not here for the social aspect, so I guess I gotta quit.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys, so the strategy, assuming PlayStation and Xbox still kind of stay on their same trajectories where, PS5 is, look at all of our exclusives, you can only play here on our system, versus Microsoft's more, at least for what we know now, is still an open, hey man, we don't care where you play your games, play them on PC, play them on your phone, you got xCloud, play them, you can buy an Xbox if you want, don't buy an Xbox, whatever, as long as you're playing Game Pass, subscribing to Game Pass and playing on an Xbox platform, we don't care where you play. And having a more service-based approach. Which of these strategies do you think has the most viability going into the future or going into this next generation?
Microsoft, they've got it. They're already setting up an environment to succeed, whereas it seems Sony's kind of stuck in the past. And I think they're kind of high on their own shit smell still, to be honest with you. It's just like, they don't think it stinks. They think it's like the nicest smell in the world. And everyone's kind of looking for something different. I'm looking for something different. I don't need every single console release to be exactly the same fucking thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How about you, Jeff?
So, I mean, my thing is that I do think that you're correct when you're saying Microsoft. And it's literally because I think Sony's fallen into the same traps that Microsoft fell into with the last generation, which is literally,
that's exactly right.
We're going to keep doing what you're doing. It's great, but they're not future predicting and predicting the change in hardware, the change in people's perspective. Again, we mentioned everybody's subscribing to all these different systems. Well, you get layaway with the Xbox, you're going to get it. That's going to get a whole other sector, a casual sector, to get the system.
Also, you have an upgrade program with Microsoft as well.
They're turned into phones, essentially. So when they do release the next
okay. Yeah, exactly.
That's a good point. I think it's Sony's game to lose at this point. They have so much momentum going in from the PS4 is one of the most popular video game consoles of all time. Over 100 million sold. Xbox has been playing catch up, but pivoting very well and coming up with just a different strategy. They jettisoned the whole playing by the same ball game. I do think as well that Microsoft probably has, the more consumer, friendly model going forward. But people want to play where their friends are at, and man, if
Sony can convert them all to PS5. That's the big if. If they can convert everyone, then Sony will continue to have Steam. But I do think that Microsoft's going to come back, and they're going to convert people over just from the simplicity of it.
The Game Pass itself, too. Imagine you're a mom, and your kid wants an Xbox. And literally Microsoft is like, hey, you kind of get all these games for $15 a month. The mom is like, well, I can do that. It's better than him, like hearing him beg to play like the next Gears of War game, and I have to shell out $70 for it.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations, it's right fucking there. I just think that.
Yeah, I think the problem is just getting the communication to mom.
Well,
to understand what Game Pass is.
And it's also Microsoft
Netflix.
getting the games out there in
Marketing.
time before Sony builds its Steam, because the problem is that we all scoffed at Microsoft's launch lineup. Like, they got to get some games out there that make people want to buy the console and get the Game Pass quickly, and enough to do the $35 a month, honestly. Like, it's right now I'm even like, hey, I'm going to wait for a little bit. But
So am I,
so that's the thing, is they need to be expeditious about getting the hook games out there to get you to switch over and then start playing that predominantly, and then you use the Xbox Game Pass, and once you play it like we have, you know it's amazing. But until you do that, you're like, well, I got my PS4, I got my PS5 now, I got Horizon, I got all these amazing games that are exclusive. Why would I still swap over permanently? Because I want to still play all these.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a great point, because this is like the first generation where you can actually bring your old games over and play them on the new system. You know, just even Sony has backwards compatibility with PS4 for, they said, 99% of their games. So
It's kind of a shame they didn't go all the way back to PS3, but I kind of understand.
I wish they did. I have so many PS3 games I got cheap. Like my
Same
wife
here.
gave me so much crap. She's like, when are you ever going to play these? I'm like, well, I can't even hook it up.
yeah, there were rumors. A lot of people thought that, okay, they're going to drop, PS3 compatibility at E3, had E3 happen. But yeah, I was actually kind of surprised they didn't. One note about Game Pass, they just announced it's up to 15 million subscribers, and they've added 5 million since April. So
nice.
Whether it's COVID related or just building steam, that
Might be that.
pretty impressive.
Well, the moment I got an Xbox One, I literally bought it because I wanted to play the Rare Replay, because I was feeling kind of nostalgic for like those N64 titles. And I immediately, when I turned that thing on, I booted it up, I created my profile. It immediately just said, hey, Game Pass. And I'm like, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
It's better than having just one fucking game.
You know how they got me? Free trial or $1 trial, and I just never turned it off. And I'm like, it's only a couple bucks a month, and that's how they get you.
That's what they want. Yeah,
that's why I still have Prime Video.
Like you said, that's a Netflix model. Like make people forget they have it.
Netflix, Hulu,
get out of their
Prime
bank.
Video. Yeah, it's bad. I need to start going back and looking at our view times on that stuff and my play times.
Right. All right. So if I can sum that up, it sounds like we're all kind of pro on the Xbox side of possibly
hopeful.
just their model. Hopeful. Yes. Hopeful. That's a great way.
Yeah, because I want all the games to succeed. I mean,
absolutely.
Why wouldn't you want good games?
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. It'd be amazing. Especially now that Xbox has incorporated all these new companies. I want all those companies to succeed. So hopefully, it goes well.
Same here. How about Nintendo? Let's talk about Nintendo quick. We can't forget about our the house that Mario built. So
I have many theories.
Going into this, and
I'm curious,
Jeff, we want to hear all of them. So going into this next generation, what do you think Nintendo has to do, if anything, to stay relevant, to keep up with the other guys, or do they just keep running to the fucking beat of their own drum?
So Nintendo will absolutely run to the beat of their own drum. That's what they do. They're going to do their own thing. They've denied all of the speculation that they're going to do a Switch Pro. However, all rumors point to next year that they're going to drop something. They would be dumb to drop it right now with all the hype around the other consoles. So yeah, they're going to put, and the way that Nintendo has, stymied off of, it's a good word, against doing good releases this year. Like, we have great releases, but it's not like a loaded holiday window like they've done in the past. And when they've done that with
Warriors,
Age of Calamity, sure,
and like Pikmin 3 remake,
oh, now hold on, I'm going to bat for that. That's a day one for me.
Yeah,
you shouldn't have mentioned.
Well, no, that's a great day one. But what I'm saying though is that when they've done this in the past, where they've only given us a couple major releases, that's what they did with the Wii U, and they announced the Switch, and that's what they've done in the past with the Wii when they've done the Wii U. So they've kind of got a history of pattern when they market things out there like that. But like, that's what I'm thinking is like all signs point to an expanded one. Now, here's the thing. Every single handheld console that they've done in the past, what do?
They always release an iterative.
So we're going to get a new Switch because we get the new 3DS, or we get the, we get the Game Boy Advance, we got the SP, and then we got the Micro. And so this is a fusion of console and handheld for Nintendo, and they're going to do an iterative new Switch. So that's my prediction, is that they're absolutely going to do a new one, or we're going to see a bunch of designs, or both, because we don't have a whole lot of themed ones, but they love to do their themed handhelds.
I'm with you. Being a publisher though, premiumeditiongames.com. Go there. Do you have any inside track or inside knowledge? Do you hear rumblings through your dealings of what could possibly be down the line coming out of Nintendo?
So Nintendo is notoriously tight-lipped when it comes to this stuff, and there are no because I'm on all the portals. And there's nothing yet to purchase when it comes to developer kits and things. So none of that, they're not at that level yet. They're probably just in the pre-stages if they're doing it, marketing and figuring out the tech specs and everything. And that's how people have the leaks, is they found tech specs. But those could have just been what they're rolling out with ideas and not necessarily coming out with. Now, to me, Nintendo, if they're doing a new Switch like they've done with their previous handhelds, they're going to roll out a new one with better specs. It'll probably have close to 4K. It'll probably be like an Xbox Series S, where it's not quite 4K, but it's 4K. Now that I know that exists, that sounds like a Nintendo thing to do. They'll tout the better battery life. If they do what they did with the new 3DS,
better Joy-Cons.
Without a doubt.
No Joy-Cons.
Hey, I got some dirt to sling at Nintendo when we do our play cast when it comes to 3D All-Stars, because you could only play those with the Joy-Cons accurately. I have my Daemon X Machinas, and I'm falling off of pits and stuff. When I put in Joy-Cons, I'm expertly platforming. I'm like, what the hell, Nintendo?
Yeah,
I got dirt.
My issues mostly with the drift, because I've had drift problems. I've even installed replacement analogs in there.
Yeah.
But those only last for 7 months too, and then I'm just.
Do you have the Switch 1 or the Switch 2? Because there is a Switch 2.
I have the Switch 1.
So the Switch
but the
2
Joy-Cons
apparently fixed it to the point.
Fixed it.
Now, did you, with one of the later updates, I think it was during the summer, you can manually update your Joy-Cons, and it actually fixed 95% of the drift. Even ours that drift, they don't drift anymore, because they did it.
Really?
So you have to go into the system settings and manually update every Joy-Con that's connected to it, and then it made it less sensitive. So there's no.
I was going to say they expanded the drift margin to the.
Yes.
I didn't do that. I have replaced all the analog sticks at this point.
Yeah.
So they're running A-OK.
So I've never replaced
we got a new set of
I've
Joy-Cons.
never replaced them, and we used our old Joy-Cons that were my wife was standing there, and her Animal Crossing character was just walking on its own. And when I did the update, it's fine now.
Get me out of here.
So no drift.
Well, too late on my end. God damn.
Yeah. So that's another Nintendo thing, is rolling things out that are major fixes and not telling anyone.
Right.
Yeah, so
it would have been nice to if they had announced that they were going to do it 4 months before I actually cracked one of these puppies open.
Oh, that's a nightmare.
I probably wouldn't have broken that seal or the warranty. So, whatever.
Yeah, so when they do that though, it'll have to, with the new Switch, right? It'll have to be backward compatible. If they I can't see them not doing it with a giant library of over 500, 600 physical games plus thousands on the eShop it's insane. There's no way. Now, hopefully they support it better than the new 3DS exclusive titles, because there's only a handful for the new 3DS.
Xenoblade. They got Xenoblade.
Yeah, a couple.
Okay, so I'm also on board with the idea of they're going to make a 4K Switch. Do you think they try to close the technology gap even further, or just maintain the same kind of gap they have now with the current system?
They can release one every 3 years, and they would still be kind of on track.
This is the issue. The tech, I don't think, is advanced to the point where they could come close to the ray tracing and the teraflops and everything that they do.
Right.
If they tried, they would fail. However, there's a rumor that I saw, which I think was a prediction, but they might do their next iterative console as a non-handheld, console-only, non-Switch? Because the Switch Lite doesn't switch, right? It's a handheld only. What if they did a console-only, straight 4K, and...
Okay.
That's
That might make
interesting.
more sense.
That's interesting.
That is, do you think they'll come out with any system that's not a handheld anymore? I think the Switch is just the Switch is the way.
It's a killer. I mean, it's a killer app.
This is the way.
It's a great concept. The Switch is the way, man.
This is the way.
I mean, there are people I know
go in
who
peace.
never play the Switch in handheld mode.
Yes.
So
yes.
And vice versa.
And vice
Yeah,
versa.
I mean,
like,
yeah.
I find myself playing predominantly in handheld mode just because I'm
too.
working on so many projects that I can spend some time with the
Yeah.
family and maybe hit in some gaming at the same time. That's
Right.
one thing. But I do love playing it on the console. I need to find out if I can't play Mario Sunshine on the TV, because I played in handheld mode. I can platform, but I was playing with a Super Nintendo 8-bit and I couldn't do anything. And so,
Oh, really?
So as soon as I popped it out and started playing, that's why the Joy-Cons are on it, because of Mario 3D. I was like playing it. I'm like, oh my God, it actually plays great. Like I was about to
Yes.
trash the damn game. And
It does.
It plays great.
That's
so I'm
good.
like,
That's cool.
Except for Galaxy. Galaxy is the worst to play in handheld mode.
I don't mind it.
Touching the screen, man, I don't want to touch my screen. I'm sorry.
It doesn't want you
It
to
doesn't bother
Greasy
me.
little fingers.
It doesn't bother me
Nubs.
much, but
Yeah.
But like, do I think that Nintendo would ever go away from a handheld? I don't know, because they could. Why not both? Like
I think it's the fact that they put them all in one system. Yeah, I don't know. That's
well,
a good,
because
that'd be a good podcast for the
the
future.
Switch Lite doesn't switch to the TV, so they've already done a non-switch. Now
Exactly.
I love the fact that this does both. Like the Switch does both and goes from handheld to console. But I mean,
That's why it's called the Switch.
it's why it's a
You can have
Switch.
the non-Switch.
But then the Switch Lite doesn't switch, so it's like the new 3DS. Some of it doesn't even do 3D anymore. Like, like, you know what I mean? Like Nintendo is a big
Right.
pivot company where they'll just do what they want because
Down
they
is
like
up,
it.
up is down.
Dogs marrying cats.
Yeah, I just hope, just from my own being a publisher perspective, that it's backward compatible too, because I want to continue to make Switch games. Like,
Oh, it has to be.
Like,
It
I mean,
has to
we
be.
can assume that we would be grandfathered into the new one, but you never know with Nintendo, because I know that the Wii U developers were not grandfathered into the Switch.
Oh, really?
I mean,
Okay.
I've been a
Yeah.
Wii U publisher for like 2-3 years now. I just didn't put out any games on the Wii U because his console was dead. But yeah,
You'd have a lot of space to yourself if you did.
true story.
A lot of crickets.
Craziness stuff.
Well, yeah, I'm like I said, I'm on the same kind of wavelength as you guys. I do believe they'll do the 4K upgrade, and who knows how long this generation lasts. We might
I
get
don't think
might get
generation's
another.
happening anymore.
Well, interesting thing is that you mentioned, Tom, when
iteration.
you send your email, I think it was we were messaging, you were saying, hey, we're going to talk about Nintendo going into the next generation. Technically, because, I did my Hidden Gaming Gems book where I covered generations. The Switch is the next generation for Nintendo, because the Wii U was released during the same generation as PS4 and the Xbox One.
Yes.
So technically, the Switch is the first of the with the PS5 and Xbox Series X. So it's interesting.
Just 3 years early.
So their iterative upgrade,
Yeah.
this is why it kind of has to be backward compatible. The iterative upgrade would still fall within this generation, just get in line so we can get some back ports that aren't completely tanked on the Switch. That's my thing.
It's probably just going to be more syncopated more than anything.
Yeah.
We're not going to see all of them scrambling to fight each other. Nintendo doesn't have to fight or scramble,
No.
or they don't have to street fight anyone. They're up in the penthouse, man. They're doing just fine.
I mean, gloom and doom, the Switch didn't sell at all, even though it just surpassed the NES and everything else, and it's right behind the Wii.
I was going to say, over 61 million units sold
Ridiculous.
last time I checked, and yeah, it's a runaway success, and they're still flying off the shelves, just the current models.
Still can't find them. Yeah.
I remember when we started this podcast, Josh said the Switch is never going to sell.
Josh is so
Yeah.
smart.
There's a reason he's not here today. He's dead now.
Oh boy.
Just kidding. No, he's not. He's tending bar. All right, well, that was our Nintendo Minute. So as we're wrapping up here, just got a couple more things. Any wild predictions for the next generation? Because we're a podcast and we peddle in sensationalism and live off of arbitrary opinions. Will this be a console war? Will there be a victor? Does anybody care?
No, I don't
anymore.
I think as long as they just keep making good games, I'm hoping that in the game development realm, I'm hoping for more. I guess you would say more creativity, maybe a little bit more like going kind of like taking it kind of off the beaten path. The 360 and the PS3, there were some games in that era that completely revolutionized all of gaming. I can't really say that for the PS4 era. I feel like there's another stage that we have yet to hit that can really like clinch what video games are and what they can.
It wasn't VR. It wasn't VR.
No, it's not. Yeah, I was just thinking that. Yeah.
VR, now you did mention something that kind of I've been feeling, and I think I've seen some people criticize. Like, is there really even a draw right now? A big upgrade with this generation? Like, obviously there's a lot of power. But like maybe even the programmers haven't caught up to the power that it's going to unleash. Like we need to see the creativity. I mean, I literally go back to the NES with new games on the aftermarket scene because people have to get creative when they develop the games, and you see some ridiculously unique stuff. And so like again, I think you're 100% right where it's untapped. We haven't hit that next level. We won't know what it is until we're in it. Like all of a sudden now we're on smartphones and stuff. Like that's, you know what I mean? Like it just happens.
Right.
And I mean, maybe we won't see it in this generation.
I'm just hoping for less third-person action, like shoot 'em ups.
That's the style, man.
I don't want any more battle royales or like
Muzos. hey, you want to? We're talking Switch. Talk about indie games on the Switch where we have action RPG Metroidvanias with roguelike capabilities. They all have them.
That's what it is.
That's what we get.
It's basically what indies.
Like that's the indies. So, and it was funny is like I'm talking to some developers and I'm like, hey, sir, are you going to do? You mentioned PS4 and Xbox One. Are you going to put PS5 and Xbox Series X? And like I may have a game going to Kickstarter next month. Tease that I have unannounced. And I said, hey, so you have PS4, and they're like, well, it doesn't. Our game isn't going to have ray tracing and all that. I'm like, you really think the indie scene is going to have all that on there? The indie scene is going to be the indie scene. Like,
I mean, you remember when Fez came out on the? It was the Xbox One first, right?
Xbox
360. Yeah.
It was 360. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, that game looked the way it did, and it did absolute gangbusters.
Yeah.
You know, there's something to be said about style,
and that's just it. And it's like, but I mean, they were saying that they were thinking, oh, it needs to have all the bells and whistles. And like, it really doesn't. But again, though, we're going and regressing too as we're looking for the next iteration. We're also seeing people take inspiration from the old limitations and hitting a nostalgic style. So I think that is that prohibiting us from going to that next generation? And are we going to see like it kind of taper off in this generation? That's an interesting perspective that I've been thinking of.
I'm predicting a lot of polygonal PS1 style throwbacks.
I've played some.
Oh, okay.
I'm not a fan.
Like N64 style?
No, yeah, and purposely limited itself to the PS1 360 style, including the tank control. No, I've seen it with the tank controls too on some of the indie games.
No.
They've been painful.
I mean, someone's got. I think kids.
I want to play the Croc sequel.
I mean, if that was somebody's like first system, you might have that nostalgia for those kind of games, but. Oh, they did not age.
But like taking something like Crash 4 and modernizing it with controls and giving it some new age sensibilities, I'd like that. That's great. But
it doesn't look like that's what it is.
It doesn't, but I hope it is. I haven't played it yet.
I've seen gameplay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy with just how the indie scene has exploded. That's, I mean, almost the majority of the games I play are probably like indie games or small studio games. I would like to see a return to form of AA, like the THQ games. Those were the games that
your Voodoo Vince
weren't quite AAA, but they were willing to kind of go for it.
Yeah.
Some didn't always work, but they were at least willing to take a chance.
Bigger publishers.
What would be the wildest prediction?
I can't even like
the Sony by Square.
Game Pass on the Nintendo Switch
already
too. Game Pass on the Switch too. Microsoft wants to go on all the things. And
I would flip.
They approached Nintendo about it. I'm
just saying if they throw it on the Switch and limit it based on the titles that the Switch could handle or something, like it's feasible.
Still might work.
feasible.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean,
that would be a
because I will say,
totally off
with
base
the crazy way that there's so many games out there for pre-order, and I'm now contributing to that madness a little bit. But like,
You're the
but
pro.
I'll literally go in and be like, all right, so this company is launching this game. It's on Game Pass. Let me go try it out before I buy it because it's on Game Pass for free. And now I played it, and I'm like, do I want to spend $30, $40 on it when I just played the game? And that's a troublesome thing when it comes to Game Pass. If they put that on Nintendo, that's a good prediction right there. Oh,
Yeah. I just don't think I think
like
the only limitation at that point is the size of the hard drive on the Switch.
100%. Well, what if they?
That's the only limitation.
What if they went? Google, was it Google who did that, or the streaming service?
Streaming.
Yeah. Well, Microsoft has that.
I don't know if the Switch has enough power to kind of run that.
Mm-hmm. Well, Switch 2 might. That's what I was saying with the Switch.
Maybe.
Switch 2.
With the Switch New, it might do that. Yeah.
Well, that's how they got Resident Evil 7 running.
You just need a streaming app to run. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. And so, like, you're almost just viewing it on the Switch at that point, and it's not really using the process, because the processing power is on the back end as they stream it. So it would be interesting to see if, especially with the internet, the like technology increasing and all the 5G and everything for the telephone. Mm-hmm. I said telephone, yeah. Networking capabilities. But when all of that, yes, rotary. But as
excuse me, this is my Fortnite machine.
That's right. I'm right with you, man.
But as it all progresses, though, we might be able to do something on a screen like the Switch or Switch 2. And I mean, that's where the predictions come in. Is there something that's going to happen out there that we can't conceive because it's not commonplace yet? But then it's going to just melt. I mean, heck, Game Pass could go straight streaming and still be running flawlessly, except for their AAA games that have to be installed.
Yeah, if you have Game Pass right now, you can try it out on Android devices.
Isn't that insane?
So,
I should do that.
There you go.
Fuck,
man, what are you waiting for?
As you both know, I don't have an Android device. Otherwise, we'd be on a different medium.
That's right. Yes, we found that out. Neither do I, so it's all right. Those are some wild predictions, folks. All right, the last thing. I want us to go through the companies and grade their performance of the last console generation. So let's pretend that
Switch is still a part of PS5 or PS4 and
yes.
Okay. Because if we went to Wii U, it'd be
No. So yeah, let's pretend that the console generation, the current one, ends today with Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo as is.
Okay.
What would you grade Sony?
Sony, I would give it out of 10. You're saying?
Are we grading it, or we're grading it?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Like a school grade.
I'm gonna say B plus.
B plus player.
I think they created an environment where it was really just about the games, and I think that if you get a console, it should all be about the games you're playing on it. So yeah. B plus. There are a few things they could have done differently. How they handled their online and a lot of that other stuff. They could have really. They could have had a better environment for that. PS Plus is great. I still think it's a good deal for what you're getting, and they usually give you some pretty decent titles.
Those monthly games are pretty good.
But it's no Game Pass, so B plus.
All right, Jeff, how about you?
So when you're thinking about it from a physical medium perspective, because that's I'm buying the discs and everything. Honestly, like, it hasn't been as collectible for me as Xbox One. I might just be because I can get them cheaper aftermarket or something. But yeah, I would say it's in the B plus territory for sure. I do like the PS Plus being able to get the games. I enjoy that a lot. I haven't been pulled in to play a PS4 game in a long time. I mean, Final Fantasy VII is a different beast. But before that, I think was Horizon Zero Dawn was the last time, and that was like years ago. So, I mean, and I'm talking about something that pulled me in that was like, oh no, I need to stop everything I'm doing and play this right now. Instead of like, I'm going to play this and I'm going to play it, but I can wait. And there's a lot of I can wait. My backlog is infinite at this point. I probably don't have enough time in my life to play every game I want to play in the backlog. So that's where it's BB plus territory for me. Because like, again, like, it's no Game Pass, but Game Pass is convenient. It's there and you can just load her up and drop in the game. Whereas, I'm doing physical medium and I love my physical games, but it's like, all right, that's a big event, putting it in, installing the game if I haven't installed it, doing all the updates. And then eventually, about an hour later, I'm able to play. Whereas Game Pass, I'll literally go into the room. So, these games came out, load them all, then go to sleep for the night. And then when the next time I go to load it up, they're already on the console.
Sir.
Yep.
That's the way to do it.
Yep.
That's the way I
That's what
do
I'm
it, too.
saying.
It's like, it's 100 gigs. I'll go to bed. It'll be done by the time I'm done with work tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then I'll have something to look forward
to. And then you jump onto them. There is no instant gratification with PS4 or Xbox One. No. There really isn't. I mean, if you forget and you want to play games on a Saturday night and you want to load up your Xbox One, I'm like, well, now I'm not playing games right now. And it literally happened to me like the last time I booted up. I'm like, well, I was trying to play Battletoads.
Some Switch games have done that to me.
Yeah, hope you're not Call of Duty fans because
Warzone.
Those are some big updates.
I debated getting it on my One, and then I saw what the load time was, and I'm like, no.
You mentioned Switch though, but with the Switch, like you're still able to play them and start them before so like when I was playing the last game, it was like a long update or something, and I'm playing Pokemon with my daughter, by the way. I had to buy Sword because she has Shield, and I've been playing with her, which is insane. Nice. Awesome. I've never really played a Pokemon, so it's insane, and I love RPGs.
Actually, How do you like it? Because my New Year's resolution that Dylan gave me for the podcast this year is to play a Pokemon game for the first time, and he lent me Pokemon Sword.
Okay.
Yeah,
I got you Sword.
I had to play that.
I've played every single installment. I was the exact age. I was the demographic.
I was a little too old.
Encapsulated. Yeah, that seems to be why certain people didn't get into it. But there's like when you see that thing running on the Game Boy, it's a completely something like that should not be able to exist on something as what the Game Boy
100%
is.
true.
So it was astonishing at the time, and collecting monsters. It's one of the coolest things in the world, dude.
Yeah,
right,
I mean, and the crazy thing with the Pokemon though is like my daughter already at 8 figured out how to like hack the servers, and she has level 100 Pokemon right at the beginning of the game because she's sitting there trading with people randomly, and she's giving a level 1 to 100. Then she didn't realize that they won't obey her, which is pretty funny.
You got to beat all the gyms.
But they do sometimes. So she sits there patiently and lets them eventually follow her orders, and she's been beating gym bosses.
Hey, then they're just tanking shit. Yeah.
But I used to do the same stuff as a kid, so I'm like watching her figure things out her own way, and it's interesting in this generation.
Awesome. Yeah. I will give Sony also a B+. I think it's undeniable that the popularity, they did a lot of good things. I think Microsoft handed them probably a lot of their victory at the beginning of the generation by
before it was
fumbling
even released
so hard with the Xbox One. And just that one video of Shuhei Yoshida sharing a game during their E3 conference right after the Microsoft conference when Xbox came out and said, "Oh, we're going to always be online." Dylan, what would you give Microsoft for this generation?
Early Microsoft, a D+. Later Microsoft.
The tale of
before Game Pass.
I think
they put in some extra credit.
Yeah, but you know what? I think they turned it around quite a bit. Their ecosystem is confusing. They have one of the worst OSs I've ever seen.
Yes.
Meaning that you can't find shit. Like
and
when
it's
I
still
first
bad.
got one, like this is something they could fix, and you still like getting to find the games that you own.
I have no idea.
Solving a Rubik's cube. Yep. You know what? At this point, I'm gonna say C+, just because I think they bungled it. They redeemed themselves a little to me. I mean, the fact that I own one means that I sort of forgive them.
You didn't sell it.
Okay. All right.
But like Game Pass, that really helps too. I like the controller a lot better than PlayStation, but I think that's been true ever since 360.
Yeah.
So C+ in that range.
All right, we'll allow it.
Like this
Jeff?
controller.
Ooh.
The green. So early Microsoft, it's like an F for me. Like it was so bad, like terrible failure completely. It is definitely recuperated though. I would say it's about a C- for me with Game Pass and everything. Still doesn't pull me in. And the reason why I'm even going a little bit lower than yours is because the whole thing that I mentioned with the indie scene and really not supporting it, we're seeing a lot less support because of it. Because like, all right, if I publish my stuff on Sony, it's going to get picked up by a bunch of physical companies too, and they're going to put out my game physically, and I get extra sales. Microsoft is like pretty much not going to get it physical at this point. Until they lower their minimums, which they might do after the generation, then it's too little, too late.
I believe that, yeah.
But reality is that's where it drops it down a little bit more for me. It might even be a D+ at that point, just because of the lack of indie support. But like Game Pass, I think boosted up to that. You get a solid, 71% for.
All right, still passing.
Still passing.
I'll go ahead. I'm going to be like you guys. I think it definitely they get 2 grades. I would say D, solid D territory for that launch. Just not having clear messaging, just the constant backtracking, the wishy-washy. The executives didn't even know weren't on the same page with the messaging. But ever since Phil Spencer took over, Game Pass has been great. I love the stuff that they've been doing with like the adaptive controller, allowing people to access and play games weren't able to before. I think those initiatives are great. And, not being afraid to put some of their games on different systems, but just lack of exclusives. So I guess I would bring them up to maybe a C right now. So that's where they stand right now. I still like a lot of stuff they're doing, and now with the acquisition of Bethesda and those guys, we'll see what happens. Finally, let's grade Nintendo.
A.
Oh, I was expecting an A+.
No. I feel like there's always kind of a room for improvement. Like I said, the Joy-Cons to me are a bit of a problem. Yeah. Also, you can tell that they spent a lot of time developing this system. You can tell it shows in the work. But you know how you put it into its dock, and you take out the Joy-Cons, you slip them onto the thing, and it looks really washed out. Have you ever noticed how on your TV the Switch games look completely washed out? Mm-hmm. Like the brightness setting's too high. You can't change that. There's not a lot of customization to this thing. There's not a lot like stuff that is kind of necessary in video games these days. You can't just it's not like you're just plugging it into your tube television and letting it roll. Some people have different TVs. Some people have there should be more accessibility options. As far as giving it an A, it's all about the games. Yeah. When I play video games, it's the games. I don't care what it's on. I will literally go to bat for it. If the game doesn't feel good to play, I fucking hate it. And Nintendo, they just keep pumping out the hits. First party, I'll give them that plus, but everything else. I mean, we're seeing the same thing that happened on the Wii with the Switch.
Pumping is
shovelware.
Relative.
We're getting a lot of shovelware now, which it's just a sign of its popularity. I understand. But it's going to confuse the people.
Where's that seal of
quality? So I actually have a theory about the shovelware too. So the Switch, you remember everybody talking about the Switch tax, right? So the buy-in on the Switch is super popular, but the buy-in on the Switch is actually a little more expensive than Sony. Sony, you can easy buy-in. You can publish anything on Sony. But Switch is you got to put in a little bit of money to get a Switch game out there. Yeah. So even myself, we're doing one game a quarter is kind of the goal, is what we want to shoot for when I'm doing any deluxes, because they got a lot of pieces like guides and stuff. We're taking it slow, but we're doing that too because it's pretty expensive buy-in. And so if you want to put out a shovelware game, you got to be willing to drop $100,000 on that piece of crap game. Do you want to drop $100,000 on horses or whatever game? So some of those are selling, and you're seeing them come out now. Now I'm saying that being a stateside publisher, it's a little cheaper overseas to publish, so it's not quite. It's probably half that, if not less, to do overseas. But I think that's kind of where you're seeing some of the less desirable releases, anyways. You're not seeing a whole lot NTSC with an ESRB rating. But that's my theory, is why we haven't seen the Carnival games and all the Wii shovelware that we saw, because there was so much shovelware.
Yeah,
it
was an interesting point.
Yeah, and I don't think until after the generation, when they drop the minimums, that we'll ever see anything close to that. There are thousands and thousands of games to where we can never hope to even we have a backlog essentially of games at our point, because we're going slow, just because of there's so many amazing games out there. And even using a quantification, I need to find a passionate developer that's on my passion level. We find them, because everybody, they're all out there. That's amazing. But that being said, I don't think we're going to see nearly the amount of shovelware that we've seen in the past on the Wii, which is good. Definitely good. So that's my one there. There's something with accessibility you didn't mention that really bothers me with the Switch. Definitely an A, by the way, for me too. Imagine accessibility. We can't even sort our daggone game. Like for real. Like you get it in a big list. Like I would like to have a favorites folder, Like give me something. It's as bad as Xbox when it comes to that. It's just like I want something accessible because literally all I got is the first ones I played, and then I go to the giant list that I have, and I have a lot of stuff installed, and you can't sort between physical and digital easily either. So it's like that right there knocks it down. I mean, the games though are amazing. Some of the this generation ports are a little bit substandard when you're going to compare them to the other consoles. So if I want to play them, some of them have been amazing, which I'm looking at like Doom and Witcher 3 and stuff. But then you have
Doom runs
just the fact
so well.
Just the fact they got them working.
It's not even that they got them working.
They don't chug.
But then you're playing a game like WWE on it. It was just like, that's probably the worst game on the Switch. And it was a year one release. And it's just like, it's horrible. And like, they didn't even try. They just like, all right, let's just port the engine over. All right, it's good to go. Release it. Don't even optimize it.
Right. To be fair, they never really tried on the other WWE games.
Or the other consoles either.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we got an A from Jeff.
A from me.
All right. I'm going to go B+.
B+ player.
All right. To start off their generation with Breath of the Wild was not a bad move in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think their first party stuff has been pretty prolific. I think it still ebbs and flows, feast and famine kind of things, but they have been pretty steady. While they hit the jackpot with fucking Animal Crossing at the right time.
They got so lucky too.
Oh my God. Like, honestly.
That game would have sold me.
And if you guys have even played this, the Ring Fit.
And I have, and
too,
it's fantastic. And I need to play more of it. If you
Honestly,
see me.
Yeah.
But there are some like actual accessibility things, I think, with Nintendo games that I'm a controller inverter, and a lot of their games do not support that.
No.
Especially I'm trying to play Super Mario Sunshine right now, and I just wish to God they would have just took the time to allow.
Well, there are certain games that slip in and out of being inverted, and it just it takes me like 4 hours of playing the game.
And I know it's a petty thing, and I know I'm a dinosaur.
They do have button mapping, but then it becomes a pain in the butt to get back to the game. So like you can you can just switch them. But then, like, you're trying to go up and down in the menus, and it'd be messed up. So, like, you can't have it both, unfortunately. Yeah. And so the button mapping did not fix the inherent issues within the game that you just have options.
Yes. And I will say, like, from the get-go, I thought Switch was going to be successful. I mean, relative to the Wii U, obviously, anything successful.
Keep one thing in mind, though, Tom. So we're looking at the PS4 and the Xbox One at the end of their life cycle. Nintendo has a bad history of tape falling way off the cliff at the end of their life cycle. So we haven't seen that for the Switch yet.
Yeah.
So we're talking games. When they do a year where we don't see any games released, we're like, man, the end of the Switch just tanked. Oh, I hope they don't do that. I hope they continue. But they've had a bad history. This year has been pretty cool. But I don't know if we've seen anything like because even like they released Paper Mario and it was okay. Do you consider like Mario 3D All-Stars on the same plane as Mario Odyssey? No. So, and that's what I'm saying is like the amazing 3 games, but is it on the same plane? So, like, as we see the next year or the year after, whatever year they decide to taper off and really focus on the next console that's not backward compatible, like, we may be talking different. Like, it may not be a B+ A console. Like,
it's with asterisk.
Well, I think a lot of games unfortunately did have to be pushed back. I saw a lot of rumors. I don't know about you. I saw a lot of rumors about Mario Kart 9 coming out this holiday season, and it seemed pretty reliable. And you're
getting it. It's that one where you drive the actual cart.
That's true. I can't wait to play that, by the way.
So that's one thing with all of the Nintendo rumors that I've seen. They've been like a magician where you're going to generally predict something so you're not wrong. So they did predict Mario Kart 9, but really it's called Mario Kart Live on Tour, and you get to drive around your house. I have carpet, so I can't even use it. So like I'm not...
Right. Understood, yeah.
Yeah, you're not alone.
Yeah, I have shaggy carpet.
I played at Tom's place.
I'm going to drive it out back, and it'll like go into like a ditch somewhere or something out in the yard.
Right. Just mod it. Put some big, gnarly fucking rubber air tires on it. Dude,
it's like
great.
the next progression to Labo. They'll do cardboard tires.
Yes.
Just make sure it hasn't rained recently.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey guys, this has been a fun discussion. I am even more jazzed about next gen now. I don't know.
You
about
use jazz,
Yeah.
so you're really jazzed.
I'm jazzed. This is my favorite time in all of gaming console launch years. I've always been a nut for these too.
It's your little Christmas.
It is my little Christmas, and it's
Fun.
the first time since the podcast has been in existence where we're actually coming upon a brand new console cycle.
Yeah.
So it was great to be able to do this with you guys.
Yeah, it was fun.
It'll be fun.
I mean, it'll definitely be something to watch. I'm not as excited, obviously. I've expressed this before, but I'm tentatively. I think it's cool. Like it's just you're really gonna have to give me better pitches if you want me to hit the ball.
The games will come.
Well, and
For sure.
and the thing is, for me, it's like this isn't a Nintendo console launch, so like that I freak out about. Like when Switch launched, I was out
Me
getting
too.
that thing day one. I went and hunted. I pre-ordered it and then went and hunted it live, and I found a copy live too. So then when it was completely sold out, like one of my buddies, I got him a console at cost because he couldn't find one. So like, and then we took pictures
nice.
where
I had to wait 3 months.
then we're taking pictures of us licking the cartridges and going. I was like, if you get this, you have to lick the cartridge with me. And then I was like,
living on the
yeah,
edge.
yeah.
Man.
So I was like, we
That's where
got
you
it.
got your gluten allergy.
No.
Just telling you.
That's from a different place. But yeah, like it was a crazy time, and so like now, like I'm 100% like not sold on pre-ordering, but that freaking $34 a month, that was so tempting. If I could actually pre-order it, it's
sexy.
tempting.
Right.
And
That's
I'm
the
not
thing.
willing
Yeah,
to
if you
wait
get your
right
hands
now.
on it.
So like,
No,
I mean, honestly, the Switch, there are some games on there that I have yet to play that I downloaded on a whim. Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
pointing to my collection,
And
and
it's
I
just-
probably haven't played a lot of them. Like, we literally do the playcast. It forces me to
So
play the
many.
game.
Well, thank you all for listening. We hope you had a good time. We would love to hear what you have to say and get your thoughts on the new upcoming next generation. Are you a day one buyer? Are you going to wait? Did you like the way we graded? Oh my God, Jeff is holding
I'm
up
holding
things.
up a slipcase for Super Blood Hockey that I can't print because I didn't sell out of the print.
Jeff, give us your closing pitch. Where can people get a hold of you again?
I can do my end that I do on mine. So as always, you can find me at Hagen's Alley on Facebook and the Twitter, and at Hagen's Alley Book on Instagram, at Hagen's Alley Books on Instagram. We're at Premium Edition Games. All over social media, premiumeditiongames.com. The pre-order for Super Blood Hockey is currently closed. International buyers can go to videogamesplus.ca and still buy it because they're leaving it up because we did our partnership after it launched, so they're going to keep it up for a while.
Just use a new VPN.
Yeah,
You're good.
and that's the other piece is, well,
Yes.
they just don't ship to the U.S., just so that way, yeah.
Oh.
However, you can still buy games there and do all the fun stuff. So
Sure.
we're doing that. I'm at and then HagensAlley.com is where you can get all my books. I have books such as The Switch Collector Volume 1 available.
Yeah, check them out.
Complete SNES.
I've been in the presence of them.
My
and they're
Super
beautiful.
Nintendo book is 630 pages, covers all regions. I went all the way to Super Famicom, everything, all homebrew stuff. I've done homebrew books, aftermarket books. I'm launching a Kickstarter for Volume 2 that's coming to Kickstarter about a week after the other
Good Lord.
Kickstarter I'm announced. So we do have a game.
Can't even keep
But we have a
track
lot
of
of
this.
stuff.
It's
We have
crazy,
a lot of
man.
stuff. But the game that is going
Yeah.
to Kickstarter, we're not actually physically releasing until next year because this game, the Kickstarter is for development, but we're doing the physical Switch version of it. So it's still falling within our quarterly release windows. So just so like people are wondering,
man.
oh, you're going to do another pre-order. It's like, well, this is for the development of the game. We're just happen to be doing some really crazy stuff. And I'll tell you guys off recording what that is.
Oh,
Nice.
can't
Cool.
wait. You're just such a joker, but you're a real Renaissance man, you know. And it's been a pleasure to have you on the
It's been
podcast. Thank you so much for joining. We've been wanting
Yeah,
to
man.
The only time I've
Nice
talked to you
Yeah,
guys
been wanting
sober,
to get
I
you on
don't
for a while.
understand what this is.
Right.
It's a little weird.
Little weird.
Hopefully, there's another convention one of these days, and we can come out of our bunkers and have a nice.
And
sip some
I'm
scotch
going to push
together.
you guys to get me sold on a gluten-free beer that doesn't taste like garbage.
Yeah.
Lakefront's.
Yeah,
is
I've
okay.
heard some different ones,
It's
but
a
I
brewing
just
company.
refuse. because I'm so scorned because I love so many craft brewers. And it's like,
before they come out with the COVID vaccine, we'll make sure
so
they switch
Midwest
to make
Gaming
sure you can
Classics
take
next
gluten-free.
year when they have it, we gotta all link up.
Oh, hell yeah.
hell yeah.
Dylan, where can people get a hold of you?
Nowhere.
Okay.
On this
You
podcast.
can just keep watching the show. support the podcast. You're supporting me technically. This is how I get.
There
This
you
is
go.
how I live in the world.
Yes, and if you want to tweet at us, it's at Hot Dogcast on Twitter. Go ahead and email us. Like I said, we want to hear what your thoughts are on the next generation. We want to hear your grades of the previous console generation. So email those at hairofthedogcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, all the places. Subscribe to us at all your favorite podcast services around the world. My name's Tom Wagner,
I'm Dylan Hoff.
and this is Jeffrey.
Oh, I was waiting for it. Wait for it. I was just see if you did.
Wait for it.
Wittenhagen.
God damn it.
I'm Jeffrey Wittenhagen.
And we've been Hair of the Dogcast, and we will talk to you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.